Why is EA Skate so soulless? And why out of any EA Skate game in the past is this the most divisive skate game? Now, if you're familiar with my channel, I've talked about this topic a ton. Since the game's out and everyone's able to play it now, we have a better understanding of what the people actually want from this skate title. And just by looking at the Steam ratings alone, you can clearly tell that this game is extremely divisive. You have people praising this game for being an innovation on the previous titles with all the free-to-play elements and all the online elements. And then on the other side, you have people that don't want that stuff at all. They just want a single player story mode version of the game. Now, for me personally, I've had a lot of fun with this game. I'm not gonna lie, but deep down, I do think this is kind of a shell of what it once was. And I do think the direction for the always online free-to-play microtransaction kind of thing, it takes away from the vibe of the original games. And that's not to say that the free-to-play element is inherently bad, but all I'm saying is it's kind of strange that EA made this game into that kind of model. So what we're going to talk about in this video are the 5 key things that are dividing the player base and kind of get an overall understanding of where everyone's at. Instead of ripping on the game just to hate it, I want to break down everyone's thoughts into one cohesive package. So I'm also going to be reading some Steam reviews just as reference. The first thing on the list of dividing topics is the game's aura or the game's artistic style. Right off the bat on Steam, you can see everyone's complaining about this game looking like Fortnite or looking like Sims. And since this game is in early access, you guys got to keep in mind that I've seen games in early access before change the complete look and style of the game. It's not like it's completely impossible. So hopefully they do take stuff like that into consideration, because I do think the vibe of the game is kind of off. I've said this in previous videos, but it seems like it's like an uncanny valley kind of situation, especially when you have realistic skating and then some wacky cartoon looking style of the characters and all that stuff. The thing that really clashes with the art style is the fact that this game is kind of realistic when it comes to the skating mechanics. So seeing that in tandem with the kind of cartoony look, it just kind of feels off. This guy right here is saying people have commented on the art style being appealing for over a year, and that's completely true. A lot of that was said inside of the forums on the EA Skate playtest. I do not want to buy clothes for these ugly Sims mobile looking people. That brings up a really good point, because if people don't like the art style and the look of the game, then they're not really going to want to purchase any items from the store. Even though what we're talking about has nothing to do with gameplay and the gameplay feels good, it's the fact that this game's a free-to-play model, and if over half of the people do not like the look of the game and won't be buying stuff in the first place, Full Circle should really just kind of reconsider their art style and design, and throughout the next seasonal updates kind of tinker with what looks good. Because if people don't buy stuff from the store, then the game won't live. And that brings us to number 2, which is the fact that this game is always online. I'm gonna read another review real quick. After playing this game for over the course of several earlier playtests, I can say I really don't like this game. Sure, you can try it out since it's free to play, but that's where the biggest issues come from. First off, the charm of the earlier skate games is close to nowhere to be found. The game feels mostly empty, soulless, and constantly reminds you to spend money. The game also doesn't have 2 of the most requested features from the community, a story mode and an offline mode. When it comes to skate games, the past couple of years, we've been really fortunate to have some really good indie titles. Games like Session and Skater XL being offline and also having a multiplayer component as an option opens the door for a modding community and people to add their own maps, clothes, etc. And don't get me wrong, I love to play games with my friends, but I don't want to be forced to play games with people all of the time. I do think for certain games it makes sense, but in a game like Skate, you kind of want to have an option. So if you're going in there to film, you don't have to be bombarded by objects being placed on the ground or people running around flipping. This is a super valid comment, because almost every single person in the playtest I saw was asking for an offline component, and still to this day EA hasn't commented on any of those features being added in the future. And on the topic of EA's communication throughout the playtest, we never really saw any direct communication back from EA. It was always a one-way communication device, so they can kind of have data throughout the playtest. I was really hoping that when I got invited to the playtest, there was going to be developers or community managers in there kind of saying, hey, this is actually something we're thinking of, or this is a good idea, or kind of reassuring the community that stuff will be taken care of in the future. But hopefully now, since the game's out, they can be a little bit more direct in the responses. For example, the new Battlefield 6 beta came out and it had Black Ops 7 completely scared, to the point where they changed all of their pre-order skins to match the aesthetic of Black Ops. And they even went as far as removing something that they've been doing with modern Call of Duty titles, which is a carry forward system where all the skins and all the stuff that you buy on the store will transfer to the next game. Black Ops 6 got a lot of backlash from the community because the vibe of the store and all the skins that people were buying just felt completely off from the look and the appeal of the game. For the past couple of months, there's been a bunch of cartoon skins running around, guns with like unicorn spray on them, and it's a little bit too unrealistic to the point of what Call of Duty used to be. So if Activision can do that with Black Ops, it's not out of the ballpark for EA to do something similar with this game. So I'm not losing hope with that, and I do think things like this could be added in the future, or at least an option. And I really feel like if they added an offline mode, the modding community would come in and support the game, especially if the online portion of the game just kind of fizzles out and dies. Stuff like the Stop Killing Games movement was started to stop games like this from getting a lot of money online, and once it has no support from the community, it just goes offline forever. So all of your stuff just goes away, and I really hope that that doesn't happen with this game. And now we're gonna move on to number 3, which I've hit a couple times, but it's the microtransactions. Here's another review on Steam. Only online slop with day one server issues. Same challenges over and over for rip-off chips for a spin on the loot box casino. For frankly terrible cosmetics. None of the game modes that made the previous games fun. No skate, no death races, own the spot, career, Hall of Meat. The art style is not what the devs promised in earlier playtest builds. Character creation and customization is abysmal. Now, microtransactions are a touchy subject, and like I said previously, it feels like some of the cosmetics in there aren't really meant for skateboard culture, which if that's the vibe they're going for, that's fine, especially if they're trying to reach a different audience. Like, I get the marketing mindset of adding weird and wacky characters to a game, but I think the Skate franchise has such a rich history in skateboard culture that seeing different brands and stuff represented in this game and then seeing like a wacky demon skin just kind of feels off. And though that stuff is completely optional, you don't have to purchase any of it, it is enough to turn people away and just completely diminish the player base. And in reaction to that, they're just gonna stop playing the game. My personal opinion for things to add in the store would be have more skate brands featured and have different board shapes so you can represent yourself with your skateboard alone. I think it's one of my biggest complaints from the store is that they didn't really capitalize on different shaped skateboards, and I know that's such a small detail, but there are so many different shaped skateboards, especially if you're looking from stuff from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s, and modern day companies like Frog or Welcome or even Heroin skateboards. I think Full Circle would be very surprised if they added stuff from skateboard culture more into that store, because if they keep adding generic products, people aren't going to want to buy that. Now, number 4 is not to rip on the devs, because they have a lot of hard work and stuff like this, and I'm pretty sure that decisions like making this game free to play and always online usually come from the publisher themselves, like EA. But number 4 is the fact that this is a new studio. This isn't Black Box creating Skate 4. This is a whole different game and a whole different studio with different people involved. If you look back at some of the creative leads at Black Box, a lot of them were actually skateboarders that helped try to represent the skateboard culture into a video game format, and they did it extremely well. And that's not to say that there aren't skateboarders working at Full Circle currently, but I think a better marketing approach would have been to show those developers behind the scenes so people could kind of connect with this new studio a little bit more. Because back in the day, we would see the developers from Skate at Black Box on these videos, and they would be talking about the flick it control feeling very similar to skateboarding. And it honestly had such an impact on connecting skateboarders to want to purchase this video game. Now, I know personally that there's a lot of skateboarders out there that just play skateboard games specifically. They're not out there playing Call of Duty or whatever. They usually just love playing skateboard simulators or the old skate games, or maybe Tony Hawk. So coming into Skate, they're probably seeing it for the first time and being turned off because it doesn't feel like something that was made for them. And I think if Full Circle wants to reach the skateboard culture a little bit better, they should try and include more skateboarders into their marketing campaigns and all of the developer videos that they publish. You can see by the negative reviews on Steam alone that people aren't feeling as attached to this game as they used to. So hopefully Full Circle can kind of course correct their target audience and try to make it feel like it was meant for skateboarders. And number 5 is one of the most important things, and that is lack of features. I think this review really sums it up. Story of the game: mission, loot box, mission, loot box, mission, loot box. It's pretty much that the entire game, and that is the whole gameplay loop. The challenge variety in this game is very slim. It is usually go collect bearings, do this trick, get to the end, and then don't fall off your board. Or if you're doing the new stunt challenges, all you have to do is reach a high score, hit a couple things, and then you're done. When I first got invited to the playtest, I was under the assumption that all the challenges in there were just kind of there for fluff. They were just kind of there as a test. And then I later realized when they dropped the early access kind of build for the playtest, I realized all the challenges were the same. They just looked a little bit better and cleaner and had different objects placed around. And for a lot of people that love Skate 3, they really wanted a competitive game mode, and there's not really a lot to be found. The only competitive mode that they have are spot battles, where you can place a banner down and challenge up to like 5 players and see who gets the highest score. Now, I think stuff like that is really cool, and I've actually had a lot of fun doing that, but there needs to be more competitive mode options like Hall of Meat, Skate, or the death races. Even though some of those game modes were pretty gimmicky back in the day, they were still so much fun to either play couch co-op with your friends or invite them online to play. I still have so many memories of playing a game of Skate on Skate 2 with my friends, and we always played that before we head out to the park for the day. I was really hoping with this game always being online that they were going to add some really crazy modes. Things like the collabo zone are just completely gone and replaced with refreshed maps every 24 hours. I think things like the collabo zone are something that they struggled with in the playtest, so they're probably going to delay it for another seasonal update. But regardless, it's really sad to see this game not have the features that it actually needs to thrive. Anyway, hopefully EA comments on the giant division that this game has caused, because even though I'm having a lot of fun now, I can see myself falling out of this game very quickly. As a genuine Skate fan, I'd rather go play Session instead of a game like this, because the user-generated content on games like Session have kept that game alive for years, and it'll keep that game alive another 10 years from now. But if you guys are playing this game for the first time, what do you guys think? What's your honest opinions? Are you guys liking the game? Are you guys disliking the game? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, my Discord is down in the description, so if you guys want to share your skate clips on there too, go ahead and do that, because I love seeing different videos from the community, and I also want to put together a giant collage edit of everyone's submissions, so go on Discord and send me your clips. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.